Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power Man Podcast. My name is Rory Paquette. I know you know that. I just love to remind myself about how grateful I am to be sitting in this seat and doing what I do. Folks, when we made the move to 5 days, you all came out like crazy. And when we made the move to seven, you all really stepped it up. I mean, really stepped it up. I cannot thank you enough for what you did and for making me not look like a complete nut by doing it. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you. Folks, if you're not out there doing what you're doing, I can't sit here and do what I'm doing. So, if you're a friend of the program, and I know you are, then you know what comes next. Got to pay a couple of bills. So let me take a sip of my preferred beverage. Man, that is hot and good. Folks, you all know what we're drinking. That's right. It's Freedom Hill Coffee at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Look them up. Check them out. Deep, dark, rich, bold, and beautiful. Just like my wife. You all know that they do all the right things for all the right reasons, and they support veterans, which is huge here for us at the Power Man. Uh, if you're a veteran out there, like our guest today, I want to make sure that we're telling you guys thank you and your families for your service. And we love you, and we're glad that you found a home here with the Power Man podcast. Very, very big. Your support means everything to me. Folks, Freedom Hill Coffee, at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Look them up, check them out, and tell them Power Man sent you. Let me get one more sip of this so I can keep up with this, fiery young buck on the other side of the table from me. All right, we have quite a guest for you folks today. Here we go. Get your pen and paper ready. He is an emergency physician. He is an Air Force rescue commander, a reserve commander, sorry. He is the founder of the Weight Behind the Spear not-for-profit. He is also the author of Be the Weight Behind the Spear, the best-selling book. And he even was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. All right. I mean, it's all of that and a bag of chips with this gentleman. So here we go. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Josh McConkey. Doctor, how you doing today, sir?
Doing very good. Thank you very much. Yeah, you got a great show. I got to watch a couple episodes, so it was good.
Oh, okay. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's always nice when people have watched it a little bit beforehand. They know what to expect. So, well, then you know what we're going to do next. We're going to throw it to you, and we're going to say, hey, tell everybody a little bit about Dr. Josh McConkey. What are you about? What's your story? And, how'd you get to where you are today?
Yeah, so just I'm from rural Nebraska, so we talked a little bit about some Big Ten football.
Right.
Cornhusker. I went to Chadron State College. If you follow football, you know who Danny Woodhead is or Don Beebe.
Oh,
For
yeah.
those a little bit older, Don Beebe. So those are two Chadron State alumni. I grew up in a really small town. So my dad was a railroader. So Alliance, Nebraska, it's a big railroad town. And
Hmm.
my my dad, my grandfather, and my great grandfather, all railroaders. My dad was originally from the Montana area, and I broke the mold. So I was the first McConkey to go to college ever, and just enjoyed math and science. I was the math and science nerd. So went into medicine and then took a direct commission when I got to medical school with the Army National Guard. And that really changed a lot of things for me. So, growing up in the Midwest, small town kid, and then finished medical school and residency in emergency medicine, was always a huge adrenaline junkie, and then deployed to Iraq. And so that's where really things turned quite a bit for me. I flew medevac. I did one air assault, and man, you just work with true heroes. These are men and women laying their lives on the line for our country. I carried body bags. I saved as many people as I could. You can't save them all, unfortunately, and that just changed me a lot as a person. So, after leaving Iraq in 2007, I came back home. Just wasn't the same person, and ended up moving to New Zealand and played soccer at Rotorua United. I was a goalkeeper for a season. I worked in a little emergency department in Rotorua. Just needed to get my head straight. Had some, it was just hard coming back. You just being in combat and just seeing some of those things. I'm in a great headspace now, thank goodness, but it took some time away and overseas in New Zealand for 2 years. Met my wife, Elsa, who's an amazing human being. Uh, Three kids, Gabriel, Alexandria, and Luca, keep me very busy with sports. I used to coach when they were little, and now I still work as an emergency physician And then running the nonprofit organization keeps me very busy and a lot of stuff with the book tour. So, I'm on a mission to make America a better place. And I appreciate you having me on the show.
That was, I mean, you unpacked a lot there, brother. That was huge. All right. Well, and you're welcome for being on the show, and I'm really glad you're here. The Your book and your movement about being the weight behind the spear. It's just the idea of it. Sounds very much like it's accountability, it's causal, it's moving and living with purpose. Tell everybody a little bit about, what the phrase means to you, where it came from, what are its origins?
So be the weight behind the spear. It's my personal leadership ethos. It's on my military challenge coin that I hand out to men and women. I have gravitate hastum in Latin at the bottom of that coin. Maybe towards the end, I'll see if I can, if it shows up in the video, I can show you the coin. But, be the weight behind the spear. That's that personal leadership ethos. I've been very fortunate to work with special operations. I worked as medical director for PJs, Combat Search and Rescue. And you talk about individuals that are the tip of the spear. So these are members that are on teams jumping out of helicopters, taking down bin Laden,
Hmm.
rescuing the Thai children that were trapped in the cave system in 2018, that Thai soccer team. One of my PJs was on that rescue mission when he was with the 320th out of Okinawa. So you work with these types of individuals and you realize like, wow, what makes these guys tick? Like they're a little bit crazy, right? Because not many people would put themselves through what they put themselves through to get through that training, but just mentally and physically so tough. But it's the weight behind their spear. That's what makes them so special. It's everyone, that culmination of people in your life. So teachers, coaches, volunteers, families, and just mentors throughout your career. That's the weight behind your spear, and that's what makes that tip of the spear so sharp. Because without the weight, it's nothing, right? It's just a pointy stick.
Yeah.
So this book is literally my prescription to fix the issues that I've seen over the last 5 to 10 years. We've got a generation of Americans that, it doesn't do any good to pass blame, right? But decisions were made, and there are repercussions. So you take a generation and you shut them out of school, you shut them out of churches, and you shut them out of their community for years that were critical for their development. There's a huge mental health crisis in this country. As an emergency doctor, I'm the one that has to deal with that. I see the anxiety, the depression, the suicide. And as a military commander, the younger generation of service members has some very, very unique challenges. And so this is my prescription to fix that problem.
Hmm. Interesting. The mental health crisis that's in the country. I mean, that encompasses so much. On this show, we talk a lot about men's mental health, but this is a whole different topic. This is a different perspective on it. I mean, because when you're talking about the mental health of the children that we raise and of that generation that we're talking about right now that has just come through, COVID, that Gen Z, um, there are all sorts of ways that mental health issues seem to be manifesting. Um, Now, you're a doctor, so I know you see a lot of this, type of thing, but is there, I want to make sure I'm not putting you in a box or a bad spot here, but
Oh, hey, you jump on it, man. I'm
the,
good.
the, like I said, there are a ton of mental health issues that are coming up. Are you seeing some that are more prevalent than others, that are more damaging than others, that really need to be highlighted, things like that? Or is it just in general, there's all these different things that are wrong with our kids?
Well, it's so many things that you can talk about. I think just putting a more narrow focus on that is just simple accountability and ownership. There's been, over several years, just like this victim mentality where it's always somebody else's fault and it's always this and I'm triggered and, just man, it's the world is not a shiny, happy place, right? I've seen a lot of evil in the world. I see it in the emergency department. I've seen it in combat zones in the Middle East and in Iraq. And you have to have a certain resiliency to overcome the obstacles that life is going to throw at you. Like life is not fair. It's not. And you have to deal with that. So I think if you put it into not only being shut out of schools and churches and their support structures, but an entire generation that was raised where everybody's a winner, right? Everyone gets a participation trophy. Like that's not real life.
Yeah.
Okay? It's just not. And the parents are not doing their kids any justice there. We used to have the helicopter parents. They kind of hover and it's irritating and and now it's way worse. They have the lawnmower parents. And these lawnmower parents just mow down every single obstacle in their child's path. The kids aren't allowed to make any mistakes, like God forbid, and they have zero resiliency because of that. So their mental health, they are really struggling. They don't know how to make decisions. They quit at a moment's notice. I mean, this is what I see as a military commander. It's very challenging. It's a very unique set of challenges for this younger generation of Americans. We have to own that. We can't pass blame. It doesn't matter who did what. Like, how are we going to fix it? And so, that lack of resiliency, I mean, that leads to anxiety and depression. And then there's a huge rise in suicide amongst this population as well. I saw one last week, last Tuesday,
That's
14-year-old.
awful.
So it's hard. I have a 14-year-old son that hits very close to home. It was actually, I'd actually walked out the door. The physician that was replacing me, I replaced him the next morning and then heard all about it. But this is happening more and more. And what are we going to do as a society? So, like, the men and the father figures that are out there, like, we have a lot of work to do. Like, take ownership of that. And society and these culture wars that have gone on, they kind of try to demasculinize and, like, oh, toxic masculinity. Like, no, no, no. The masculinity is what has helped human beings survive for thousands of years. Certainly there is toxic masculinity out there, but all masculinity is not toxic. It is necessary. All right. Um, so we got a lot of work to do.
I love everything you just said. And I couldn't agree with you more. I think anybody who's listening to this is like, okay, this guy belongs on this podcast for sure, with everything you're saying. Unfortunately, these issues are very real. It was the issues that I saw with my sons going through, high school and college during all of those, COVID years and things like that, that made me start with this podcast and this movement.
Yeah.
And it was the war on masculinity. Excuse me, the war on masculinity that also, contributed to that also, because I was raised into, very masculine sons who needed that in their lives and sort of, lived by those old-fashioned ethos, where you take care of your family, you protect, you provide, things like that. Um, as we move into the world that we're in today, however, and I know that we don't want to pass blame and judgment, but there is plenty of that to go around.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there is a fight going on, even still today. And so, what do people do about it? Because we can all say something needs to be done. In your opinion, especially having seen what you've seen, what are some things that people can start doing about it to
Yeah. It's
change it?
fantastic. It's a fantastic question. So the answer is not, I'm going to let my government take care of it. All right. All right. I can
Right.
promise you with 100% certainty that the government is not going to solve this problem. It has to be you. When you wake up and you look in that mirror, like, who's going to save us? Who's going to get involved? It's you. It's always you. It's your community. So, and you see, like, I do have done a lot of work in Western North Carolina. They had Hurricane Helene last September, just horrific. It was the community stepping up and getting involved. I mean, when you rely on just your government and FEMA and the bureaucracy, they're always going to let you down. But your community, you have to be there for each other. So strap on your boots, get out there, volunteer in your community, go coach Little League, coach soccer, volunteer in your school, your church. Like, get out there. It has to be you. Like, nobody's going to save us but ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. I've been a longtime proponent of it starts at your own kitchen table. Take care of your own house first. Is that something that you address in the book, or is it more about leadership and finding purpose and things like that?
That is exactly what I address in the book. And I've kind of broken that down into four different sections. So that be the weight behind the spirit ethos. The first section of the book is how to be the weight, accountability, ownership, Just those basic leadership skills. I've got a great chapter in there on leadership, some skills from Coach K, Coach Krzyzewski,
Oh
the
yeah.
coach of the Duke Blue Devils. I was a professor at Duke University, was very fortunate to get to meet him and partake in one of his leadership lectures that he gave, and it was absolutely mind blowing. So that's a great chapter. The second section of the book is how to not be the weight. So CEOs embezzling money, hospital executives putting profits over people, and the whole opiate crisis, right? That really, the opiate crisis is caused by insurance companies coupled with hospital executives that just have these ridiculous satisfaction scores where they're really bribing physicians to give narcotics. I mean, I've been in medicine for over 20 years, so I've seen this from start, like probably 1999 or 2000 to where it's at now. And then the federal government, their involvement in that. The actual early on, the when they turned pain into the fifth vital sign, all right, which is completely ridiculous because you have objective vital sign measurements. I'll just keep it very simple. Blood pressure, heart rate, temperature. Those are objective. Those are actual measurements. You can't make that up. All right. And then based on abnormal levels of that, you have increase of morbidity or mortality. Like if you have a blood pressure this sky high, like you're going to stroke out or die. Okay, that's a fact. And then you take pain as the fifth vital sign. It's super subjective. Pain is different for everybody. So what was hard for me transitioning back from Iraq to like real life and community. So I'm in Iraq and you're picking guys up off the battlefield. They're just blown up. They're missing limbs, quadruple amputees, bleeding out. And these guys are destroyed. What's your pain? 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10. These guys literally, they'll ask you, hey, is my dick still there? And is my buddy okay? That's what they care about. And their pain's 4 out of 10. And then you come back to the United States and you've got an ingrown toenail, or I slam my pinky. I mean, like, my pain is 12 out of 10. I'm dying. I'm like, listen, on a scale of 1 to 10, one is it's an irritant, and then 10 is you got blown up by an IED and you've lost all your limbs. What's your pain scale? It's 15. Like, oh, I can't do this. Like the one that sent me over the edge, which is why I moved to New Zealand for a while just to get my head straight. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. We have a pediatric code, and this baby's dying. And we're doing our best. We spend over an hour in the room. Baby doesn't make it. This is your worst nightmare as a parent. We're all crying. I'm crying. My nurses are crying. We walk out of the room, and this mom is just pacing around, and she just starts yelling at me, just screaming at me. Her 14-year-old son has an ingrown toenail. I swear to God, ingrown toenail, and she's mad. And I walked up and said, hey, listen, we need a little time. This baby died. And she's like, well, I don't care. We were here first. And I was like, oh, all right, get out of my emergency room,
Wow.
get the F out of here. She's like, you can't do that. I'm like, security, get this woman out of my emergency department right now. And there were probably a few four-letter words in there as well. And you can't really do that, right? My nursing staff loved it. I mean, they had huge respect for that. Even administration was just like that. That lady was super unreasonable, but you can't do that, right? And I'm just like, listen, guys, I really appreciate the support here. I'm kind of struggling. This is not working for me. I don't think I'm not ready to be back in in regular society. So moved to New Zealand, played soccer, worked in a little ER down there. But so just some of those basics. So that's like how to not be the weight. And there's some crazy CEO stories in there as well. And then the third section is just some really cool stories that kind of shaped who I am as a person. Some of that weight behind my spear. And that last section is really about just family and my wife and her family story. And that's the weight behind the spear.
It's amazing. So it sounds like, yeah, it's very much based on your own life experience and things that you've dealt with. So incredible, it really is. The not-for-profit. It's one thing to write a book. It's another thing to start a not-for-profit. I mean, these are very, very different projects. Um,
Oh, a lot of work.
yeah, I was going to say.
Um, I had not done that before, and so just a lot of reading and a few attorneys and some legal Zoom and paperwork. So what we did is after Hurricane Helene hit in September of last year, we just saw Western North Carolina decimated, biblical level destruction and flooding and loss of life. And, as a North Carolinian, I love Western North Carolina, the mountains, the Biltmore. If you haven't been to the Biltmore Estate on a tour at the Asheville, and my wife's aunt has a house out near Todd, out in Western North Carolina. Just beautiful country, wonderful people. And to see them hurting like that, I just felt like I had to do more. So, the weight behind the spear, that ethos, I turned into a nonprofit organization. So the Weight Behind the Spear Foundation, it promotes community engagement. We raised a lot of money for Western North Carolina and then partnered with Samaritan's Purse, which is a wonderful organization that does work all throughout the world, but they were very involved in Western North Carolina. Got to meet with Edward Graham and it's a lot of work, but we've done a lot of good and there's a lot of good left to do. Uh, it's super busy. There's only a certain amount of time in the day. I work pretty much nonstop, but that's one of the things that takes up my attention.
Yeah, I imagine. I've looked into not-for-profits before, and I mean, it's not just starting your own business, get an LLC, and move on. My goodness, it's not.
You get your 501(c)(3) recognition, and
Yeah,
it's been good.
it's insane, but power to you for going through all that, persevering, and getting that set up. And
Thanks.
it's amazing to hear those stories of people like yourself, and the people who worked with you to help out the community, especially in North Carolina, because it seems like you guys didn't get a whole lot of help from anybody else.
Yeah, we had Elon Musk dropping in the satellites and actually so Samaritan's Purse was very involved. So Edward Graham is a veteran and did a lot of logistics and he helped coordinate for the Guard and some other military aircraft that were flying in and literally FEMA came in and shut them down for a while. I mean, the bureaucracy there just wasn't as helpful, let's just say.
Yeah,
But those organizations, because Samaritan's Purse is based out there in Western North Carolina, and again, it's not the government that's going to save you. It's you, your community, the people around you. And once you realize that, you take ownership of it and take care of business. Don't just sit around and wait for the government.
yeah. No, I love that you are saying that. That it's, hey, the government's not going to save you and you have to do it yourself. I absolutely live by that on a daily basis. I teach that and preach that on my show and to my own children. Um, However, I guess being part of the government is something that you may be able to make a difference with. I'm just
Yeah.
guessing since you've got a little future thing going on.
I do. So I've announced a run for lieutenant governor here in North Carolina.
Hmm.
In addition to those types of things that clearly need some more help, the lieutenant governor chairs the board of education as well. And as a prior Duke professor, my wife is a teacher, my mom's a teacher. That's so important. Public education is critically important. And so they need a lot of help. And so we just need someone that can, some purpose-driven leadership, not just these career politicians.
Sure. Do you have a particular platform that you're running on that you can share with the guys who are listening here?
I do. It is very simple. Three S's: security, safety, and service. And when you talk about security, this is your family, your community, border security. Like every state is a border state, right? Regardless of where you're at. I won't get too much into those politics. And just safety, safety for your family, healthcare, the drug crisis, the opiate crisis that I see every day in the emergency department. I just felt like I was beating my head against a wall every day, just doing the same thing over and over. Like, I can go in and intubate and give a bunch of people Narcan and just keep doing the same thing over and over. Or you can get involved and that's actually change some policy and make some difference. If we can prevent the overdoses, if we can address that opiate crisis, on a statewide level, instead of just wait until they come to the ER OD'd. I've been doing this for 20 years. I see a lot of terrible things. And to be honest, most politicians don't have a clue about healthcare. They know absolutely nothing. They're writing laws that they don't know what they mean. It's all run by lobbyists. So we need someone with some healthcare background in there. And then just service to your community, service to your country, military service, you know,
Mm.
law enforcement, first responders. I'm an EMS physician as well. Those types of things matter. And true leadership skills, purpose-driven leadership, I think is going to make a difference in North Carolina. And that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. Well, good luck to you. and wish I was in North Carolina so I could vote
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah. Spread the word.
Absolutely will, for sure. I have a question because of what you've talked about. You're running for this office. Your focus is on education. We've talked about mental health. When you put all these things together, um, obviously, I mean, I don't think there's a father in the world, really, well, in America especially, but that is against their children being safer in schools. I mean, I think we
Yeah.
all we all worry about that.
Mhm.
But what do we do when you combine all these things that we're talking about here, and when the mental health crisis that's going on seems to be being ignored by the mental health professionals when people walk in there with clearly diagnosable mental health conditions, and they not only don't do anything to stop it, but they encourage it and they accept it and they put it out into the world. And
Yeah.
then here we have these issues. You know what I'm saying? It's like when the mental health
Absolutely.
professionals are compromised, then how do any of us, protect our families, our schools, our communities? What do we do?
Yeah, it is. I'm not sure how in deep you wanted to get, on that kind of opening that
Deep
can of
as you want to
worms. But
go.
okay, sweet. Okay, so you've talked about just some of the gender affirming of care and those types of things. All right. Um, as a physician, that's clearly a mental health issue. So you are going to be very hard pressed to find anyone on planet Earth that has the gender confusion issue that doesn't have some severe mental health tied behind that. And so, no different than if you would take someone with depression or anxiety or schizophrenia, like you, you don't just play into the delusion and tell them that they're a tree or that they're Mickey Mouse or that it's a mental health issue. You have to get them the mental health that they need. And so, especially, when you talk to pediatrics and you talk about like the sex change operations and those types of things,
Hmm.
as a physician, it's so bizarre. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Like once you turn 18 years of age, hey, this is America. Do whatever you want to do. God bless you. But
100%.
in children, listen, you have to be you have to be honest with them. Okay. Like so the answer isn't giving them a bunch of drugs. We've seen a lot of, and it's just more recently, and I'm not scapegoating anybody, but it's a fact that the last several like school shooting events have been some transgender individuals that either with just the straight mental health issues or all the medications and the hormones that they've been on have created a perfect storm where kids are getting killed. And you have to address the mental health issue on that. It's I could probably talk for a long time on that. Like as a physician, there is biology, there is science, and you don't just suspend that and reinforce like other delusions. Just be honest and get them the mental health that they need. Once they turn 18 and they're adults, they really do whatever they want, but children need that. It's it is a crazy issue. I almost at times can't believe that we have these discussions. Like when you talk about allowing men to play in women's sports, like Riley Gaines has done so much work, as a
Yeah.
female athlete. And I have kids. I mean, none of my kids are fantastic athletes, okay? But I know people who are. My niece just won the national championship, the high jump. All right. And she's 12 years old, fantastic athlete. And I see how much time my sister and her husband put into that and early mornings, late nights, thousands of dollars traveling around the country for things. And then you get up on, and you're competing, and then you get beat by a dude, like because for their daughter, it's like, what are we doing? Like
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense. Like when you be whoever you want to be, that's great. But there's a real biologic advantage of men over women, body body makeup, genetics, bone structure, muscles. That's a fact. That's an irrefutable fact. I don't even understand how we're having this decision anymore. It just it's really bizarre.
Yeah, I appreciate your candor, in the answer. I really do. And let me also, I know you're running for office, so if there's anything you don't want to answer, feel free to just say, hey, I'll pass. No problem at all. Because and for everybody at home, I don't prep my guests with questions.
Yeah,
This is
no.
just a conversation, so it's whatever comes up. So he didn't even know that was coming, folks. It's all on me. But I do. I appreciate your thought process and letting everybody know that. Especially being when you've worked in pediatrics, you've worked with kids.
Hmm.
So I mean, there's not too much more of a an expert label you can put on that other than someone who's been sitting there in the trenches like that. So
I was a Duke professor.
yeah,
They've tried to change science somehow in the last decade or so, and science is science. It's
yeah.
fact.
Let me ask you this in Indiana anyway. Um, if a bartender overserves somebody, and lets them leave drunk and drive home, and they, have an accident and kill somebody, the bartender's going to jail. The bartender who allowed that to happen is more than likely going to have charges pressed against him. So one thing that I've really been wondering is, at what point are the mental health professionals who are affirming this stuff and going against their own big book of,
Ooh,
what's going on, are they going to be held accountable? Because I think as soon as that happens, I think this whole thing ends. But that's just me.
wow. That
I'm
is a
just
very,
curious.
boy, that's a very, I have never heard of that proposed before, but I have to sit on and think on that because I'm not an attorney, you know.
Sure.
I went to law school very briefly when I came back from Iraq. I wanted to change the
Oh,
world,
wow.
and yeah, I did a semester and a half, and then I was like, forget it. I'm just gonna move to New Zealand. I was working full time as an emergency doctor, and
I don't
I
blame you.
I was going to law school at Creighton University for a while. Boy, that is very interesting. I think, boy, I bet that would change some of their tunes very quickly.
I just wonder, you know what I mean? Because, when you can do whatever you want because of your political beliefs and whatnot, and you can literally just sign whatever you
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to
When there's
sign with
zero
no
accountability,
accountability.
people do a lot of
Exactly.
dumb things. Once you're
Right.
accountable, tunes kind of change.
Interesting. Yeah.
Very
All right.
interesting.
Food for thought. Yeah, I mean, since you're running for office, maybe this comes
Wow.
across your desk at some point. I don't know, but hey, if nothing else, at least you can say, hey, that Power Man guy, he brought this up one
Yeah.
time, and maybe
Wow.
I'll think about this a little. And now all my, listeners are going, wow. All right, interesting thought. So let's get back to you, though. I appreciate you indulging me going down this line of questioning. I really do appreciate it. As you have put together your not-for-profit, as you've put together this your book, this movement, of accountability. I mean, fighting against and this is a quote, generational decline in leadership, purpose, and resilience. We can start at home. I can start at home with my kids. I can talk about resilience. I can teach them purpose. What do we do with Gen Z? Because this generation, if they weren't built that way going in, then there's a very good chance they're suffering from a lot of this now. I'm very blessed that I've been very brash in how I raise my boys. And so even though they're both Gen Z, they got out of school and they're both in their early 20s and they don't have these issues because they went in with a real strong base of what they needed. And so when this all hit them, they were able to say, this is nonsense and I'm not buying it. But if people weren't given that beforehand, then they probably are suffering from some of this.
Oh,
So
it's
what do we do
that's a
with Gen Z to try and help them get out of this? Or is this just ingrained and we have to just deal with this lost generation?
yeah, certainly, boy, you would hate to see that to be just a lost generation, right? Because that's the future of our country.
Hmm.
If you take that entire generation and just write them off as lost, boy, 20, 30, 40 years from now, when they're all in the leadership positions running the country, we are all in a ton of trouble. So I,
Yeah.
I definitely don't believe that it's ingrained and irreversible.
Okay.
There's a lot of work to do, and it starts with family, faith. I mean, that's just so overlooked anymore. It's like, I was talking with a neighbor, and they are a professor at a university here. So I'm in the triangle, so there's plenty of universities around me. So they are at one of the universities. And he came to me, we were just chatting. And he's like, Josh, I can't even tell people at work that I'm a Christian. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. If you tell them you're Christian, you're automatically blackballed and that you're automatically a crazy right-wing nutter. Like I just have to keep it to myself. I was like, wow, that is that's diabolical. Just even if you even whisper that you
Yeah.
have faith and that you're Christian, or maybe you have other religious beliefs, you're just automatically on the outs. And
Hmm.
that's the wrong direction, right? Because that's what has kept humanity together. We're a social culture, that faith for thousands and thousands of years. That's what has made us human beings and our humanity. That's what sets us apart from wild animals. And to just completely disregard that, I think, is a significant contributor in some of the mental health issues that we are dealing with. So that's one thing. And second, just those basic leadership skills, resiliency, when you try to ingrain that, how to overcome challenges. Like, we already talked a little bit, not everybody's a winner. You don't get participation trophies in real life. Okay. Now, losing is not bad. Like, because I'm a very strong proponent. If you're not pushing yourself hard enough to lose, then you're not pushing yourself hard enough. You've got lots more to give, you know, just playing it safe. And, that's not always a good thing either. So failure is good as long as you learn from it. You make hopefully not crazy mistakes, like especially with children, right? I mean, don't
Yeah.
don't knock
Right.
anybody up, don't get a DUI, like they don't do the irreversible things. I've got three children, I've got two boys. I'm certainly not a perfect father, but I hope I'm as successful as you are. I hope so. But just teaching those basics, you start right there. And like for us, it's been as simple as just sitting down at your dinner table. Like everything's busy and social media rules everything and everyone's on TV and blah. Just take the time, sit down at your dinner table as a family and just talk about your day. That's what we've done. Just what went well today, what didn't go well today. Is there a different decision that you could have made that would have made the outcome of that day a little bit different? And then we air about it. We don't try not to chastise unless they do something really stupid. And then, discipline dad's got to come out there because there's accountability in this household. That's the problem is none of these kids are held accountable anymore. So my mom is a public school teacher and, she retired like 2 years ago. And just the last 10 years, she just beside herself. You physically, in most public school systems, cannot fail a student ever. They can not show up. They can do absolutely nothing. They can have a 0% grade, have contributed nothing. You cannot fail them. You
Wow.
can't. And for me, it makes no sense whatsoever. I don't understand that because if you don't have accountability, that's when things just go off the rails.
That's
So
just absurd. Even just to
oh, it's
hear
completely
those
absurd.
words is
Oh
so
yeah,
absurd.
I've talked with tons and tons of other public school teachers. I mean, my wife's a teacher. I know lots and lots of teachers, and so a lot of them have left and gone to some private schools. And the public schools. We need stronger public schools. Like that. That's like the big central point of my campaign. You're going to be chairing that board of education. You've got to have accountability. All right. Parental choice, I think, is super important because that holds those schools accountable. If you don't have accountability, you have chaos.
Wow. The hearing all this about all these educators that you know and that are in your family and everything else. I mean, everything really does tie together and make sense in terms of why this is such a big mission for you. Let me kind of ask you this: with the book, with the not-for-profit, with you running for office, with your push for education, when you put all this together, when Dr. Josh McConkey is sitting there at home, at the end of the day, and he's got his feet up and his family's all tucked in safe. What is it you truly hope to accomplish with everything that it is that you're doing?
Well, that's a really good question as well. I think probably the best way to answer that is, I sleep very soundly. I believe in what I'm doing. I see people, I've seen people die every way you can imagine on battlefields and emergency departments. And when I wake up in the morning, this is probably the best way to explain that is when you carry those body bags, like personally, and you see those sacrifices, these are, men and women that, in their early ages, like 18 to 24, 25 years old, they should be out having a great time, having some drinks, going out there playing friends, sports. I'm zipping up a body bag and carrying this guy off the battlefield. And it wears on you, you know? I wake up every single morning. I think about those people and what I can do to justify to justify that sacrifice. And it just really motivates me. That's what I do every single day. I wake up and I think about them, and that's why I do what I do. And I'm on a mission to make this country a better place, and I'm going to get that done. I will not quit.
Love that, man. I really do.
Yeah, thanks.
That's amazing. And yeah, I hope that this mission catches on with everybody that you talk to about it. Everybody gets a chance to read your book.
Thank
And
you. I've had a
man, I hope
great
you get
response
elected.
so far. Like I've been very blessed.
That's great. How long's the book been out?
So it was the towards the end of 2023. So we're coming into almost 2 years now. And there was the audiobook and the ebook that came out later. So one was just released the audiobook was just released September 11th of last year. So that's not quite been a year yet.
Beautiful. All right, we've talked about some very serious stuff on the show today, and I really do appreciate you participating in it the way you have. But I would be remiss if I didn't at least bring up this nominated for Pulitzer Prize thing.
Oh,
So
thanks.
anybody who's ever written a book and thrown it up on Amazon, myself included, cannot even imagine what that must have been like. Just give us an idea of the process, what you went through, and how that felt.
Well, I got an email, and it was Columbia University. It was like Pulitzer at Columbia.edu. It was like, hey, your book has been nominated and accepted as an entrant to the Pulitzer Prize. I was like, wow, I first time author. So I mean, I certainly know what the Pulitzer Prize is, and just kind of Googled and I looked some things up, and it goes through a committee of I don't know like 6 people, and I think for me it was the right book at the right time. So this country is so divided generationally and politically. It's the most divided I've seen in my lifetime. I'll be 48 here in a couple of weeks. In this book, we're like, listen, we can all there's lots of different sides of the political spectrum, but everybody can agree that this generation is in trouble. Everybody can see that for many different reasons. And we can all agree that we need to build leadership and resiliency and help this generation be successful because if they're not, we're all doomed because this is the future of the country. And so I think that was a message that just resonated, and it was really cool. So they live streamed the announcements, and I did several posts leading up to that, and it just I wasn't really expecting to win. Just 'cause I'm basically a nobody. I'm just a dude from rural Western Nebraska, combat veteran, and I care. And so the book was pretty well received. It won several other awards. Nonfiction Authors Association, Big Book Award, Independent Press Award, and a couple of others. So just that was it was really humbling. And then we watched it live, and I was actually pulling in to pick up the kids at carpool. My wife, is a teacher at the school, and so as I pulled up because she's doing carpool, she's like, they announced it. I'm like, they're announcing my category right now, and then they did the 3 finalists and the winner, and I wasn't on it. I was like, oh, so but it's very cool to get the nomination. It's pretty surreal. I mean, I grew up in rural Nebraska, so
That's awesome. Well,
wow,
congratulations. I mean, even being nominated is just unbelievable. So, I mean, congratulations on that. That's an
thanks.
incredible accomplishment. Says an awful lot about the scope of the book, to be honest. It's obviously not just some venting tirade about somebody's beliefs. There's obviously a lot to the book that has been appreciated on a very high level. You never would have got there. So,
Yeah,
congratulations on that.
thanks.
Very, very cool. How can people find your book, contact you, reach you, find out more?
Thank you. Yeah. So waitbehindthespear.com. WEIGHT is in like the waitbehindthespear.com. On Instagram, it's Josh McConkey MD. And on X, it's McConkey 007. And if you're interested in the campaign, just join in the team. We're stronger together, strongernc.com.
Beautiful. Absolutely wonderful. All right. I always like to get that out of the way first because I do like to kind of wrap by giving you the floor for a minute. And
Great.
so what I'm going to do here is there anything I didn't ask you? Is there anything that I did ask you want to double down on, or maybe some, advice or parting thoughts that you want to leave for, our audience, who they are and so on. I'm going to give you the floor for the last couple minutes. Go for it, sir.
Thank you. So, all those community leaders, fathers, husbands, you know, what you do matters every single day. It really does. Your children, your significant other, your community, your church, colleagues, you have an impact. Everybody has a certain set of skills. There's a lot of people that don't like people, right? Go to your animal shelter. Volunteer. Those animals could be emotional support animals for somebody. So everybody has a unique set of skills. You matter. So coaching, little league, church, schools, go down to the soup shelter, like it has an impact on every person around you. Don't discount your role. So when I said like the government's not going to save us, it's got to be you. That's what I'm talking about. So get out there and volunteer in your communities, make that difference. You are the weight behind the spear in your community, and America needs you. So get out there.
Perfect. Great wrap up. Dr. Josh McConkey, thank you so much for being on today, for sharing everything that you have, for handling all of my questions out of left field.
Good
Appreciated that.
question. Hey, great questions.
Thank you for that. And really and truly, it's been great just getting to know you and your mission. And I wish you all of the best with the book sales, with your life in general, and of course with the election.
All right. Thank you very much.
You got it. Folks, that's been another incredible episode of the Power of Man podcast. The reason that we have such powerful men like this on here with these crazy, important, powerful messages is because we are united in trying to help you regain your power. We want you to be, better protectors, better providers, better leaders tomorrow than you are today. We're hoping that you can become a better father, a better husband, better man tomorrow than you are today. And the reason that we want that for you is because you have value, because you're worth it. And at some point, you just have to believe it. Until next time.